This is episode number 71 of the BS Machine. I'm your host, Tommy Kendi, and welcome back to another fine episode. On this episode, we are going into and talking about this idea and this question of, have you been paying attention? And you know how there's that TV show, I think, which is called Have You Been Paying Attention? And they ask all weird questions and whatever. But this is a little bit different. Well, it's actually very different in terms of, have you actually been paying attention to what's going on in your life and the little signs and the little things that pop up for you? And we'll go much deeper into it in this podcast, in this episode, because what I mean, look, I can only talk from experience, and what I find a lot of the time in my own life is in a lot of areas, sometimes, you find that the answer is right there, like literally right there. It's under your fucking nose. And you're looking everywhere else. You're looking at all these different, under all these different rocks and whatever else. And you're trying to upturn everything, but the answer is like literally right there under your nose. And so this is where we're going to go into this podcast in terms of how to almost narrow things down and just look at what's actually showing up, what's actually in your life right now, what's showing up, where are the answers at? And that's one of the biggest time wasters with me. Well, obviously with me, because I'm talking from experience, but sometimes I'm constantly looking in all these different areas, and I'm like, I've got to look here, I've got to meditate, I've got to journal, and then sometimes I go, oh my God, holy shit, the answer was like literally right there. But you're never going to know unless you learn how to pay attention. And by paying attention, there's a certain things that you would need to do in order to be aware enough to actually pay attention to literally the most obvious things that are unfolding in your life. And that's usually where the answers really lie for us. So let me give you an example. I just finished reading this book called Happy Money, and it's such an awesome book. And it basically talks about, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last podcast. I might have. I don't think I did. But it basically talks about, maybe I did notice about, maybe I did mention, oh, you know what? Who fucking cares? It's a good reminder. But this thing around happy money, this idea that when you are giving money out or receiving money in, to have this opportunity to really sit back and go, oh, how fucking cool. Like I have enough money to give and to buy things and to pay for things. And I also have enough money to receive. So obviously I'm doing something in this world that makes me worthy enough to accept money. And when you accept money, and when you actually, whether you're transferring or whether you're giving money away, if it comes from a really cool intention, if it comes from a pure intention of being excited and grateful and appreciative that you have money to give, and then when you get money, that you're getting this money, it turns money into this project of pure happiness. But if you were not paying attention to what's actually going on, you'd miss it. And since I've been doing some of these practices in this book called Happy Money by Ken Honda, man, so many things have really shifted for me. And I'm not saying that I've become like a gazillionaire, but the things that have shifted for me have been where I really notice, and I'm very attentive in when I don't like getting rid of money, right? When I don't like paying for things. And so what that's brought up for me is that, let's say if it's like $50, right? I'm like, whatever. Like that doesn't affect me. If I'm paying for something and it's like 30 or 40 or $50 or whatever, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I don't even notice it. It's gone, it's done, whatever. if I get 30 or 40 or 50 bucks, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. But everyone I think has this leverage on or this ceiling of what, especially around money, of where you feel comfortable. And I really noticed, I'm so attentive, that my one is somewhere around 300 bucks. So if I have to pay for something that's like 300 bucks or more than 300, I get a bit weird. I'm like, fuck, that's a lot of money. Like, oh my God, that means I have to do whatever, that for me, not that it's a lot of money, but for me, it goes, that's my ceiling, right? And so I've been super attentive with that. And so the last few days there's been a couple of times where I've had to pay somewhere around 300 bucks for things. And because I noticed my ceiling, that brought me into this place of like, fuck, imagine if I was able to build my ceiling to $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000, and that made me feel quite empowered, in all honesty, because I'm like, okay, cool. Well, if I'm going to appreciate money and the energy of money, and I'm going to, take on this Zen like feeling around money and make all my money happy, whether it's going in, coming out, then, there should be no ceiling. It should just move and flow. So the last few times, even this morning, I had to pay a Mr. Fix-It guy that came out to the house and, fixed a couple of things and whatever, and it was 300 bucks. And as soon as I gave him the 300 cash, I really noticed myself, that resistance coming up. But at the same point, it's not that I caught myself, but I became attentive and aware of that block. And I went, wow, how lucky am I to move through this block? And I was super attentive. And I made sure that when I gave that fucker the 300 bucks, it came from absolute gratitude. It came from appreciation. I refused to give him that money until I felt super grateful and super appreciative. And the little practices I've done, not that I want to harp on about this too much, but the little practices I've done is like, even when I'm buying a coffee, I'm like, oh, when I go to tap my watch on my phone or whatever, I actually say to them, I'm like, you know what, guys, thanks for the coffee. Just so you know, the money that's coming through is happy money. And they just laugh and I laugh and whatever. But I've been taking on these little practices. But when you're fully paying attention to the things that are happening in your life, whether it's, even with friendships and relationships, when things are happening in your life, even within yourself, if you can be super attentive and you can really pay attention to what's going on, then you start to realize that a lot of the things that you're noticing about yourself are just basically boundaries and things that you've built for yourself. No one else, like for me, no one came in and said to me, dude, your ceiling is 300 bucks to feel good about giving money away or accepting money. It's like, I built that for myself. So if I'm being super aware, super attentive, then I need to know. And where this will most likely come up for you, or where you can, really pay attention with this stuff, is just around your own patterns. And usually it's around what you resist, what you're feeling resistance against, what you're feeling where there's a level of resistance that comes up in you. And one of the greatest ways to become aware of that or notice that is where you feel that in the body. And even if it's not in that moment, it could be in a few hours after you feel this essence of resistance within you. A few hours later, if you remind yourself to be attentive and pay attention, then you can go into it and go, fuck, where do I actually feel this in the body? And if it's got anything to do with the resistance, it's usually going to be somewhere around the belly, the heart, or around the throat. These are the key areas where usually we feel resistance. And you can feel the shoulders shrugging up, or You can even usually in the head, like when it gets to really high levels of anxiety, that's when you would probably feel it in your head, like your head's going to blow up. But usually at the starting stages, you would feel this resistance in the belly, in the heart, or in the throat. So you've got a really good way of using the body as a vehicle to show you where you're being resisted or where you're feeling resistance. And then in terms of paying attention and really understanding what these things are bringing up, what we have to be careful of is that we don't go too deep into it. Because as with me, with that $300, I noticed that my ceiling of feeling comfortable around something being cheap or expensive and me going to fear around losing all my fucking money, because that's really what it is. It's that ceiling for me. If something's $300 or $350, I go into like, fuck, man, like if I pay for this, that my inside, like unconsciously, I'm actually sitting there fearing that I'm going to lose all my money, which is obviously not going to happen from, paying for something for $300. But really, it does. There's this ceiling that we all have. And so what we all have to understand with all parts of our life, there is a ceiling. It's like, what are you prepared to accept from the world? How much is someone going to, either if you're in a situation where you're in constant conflict with your partner or you're in constant conflict with family, it's not about how much are you prepared to handle until you fucking go away, or until you break up the relationship or the marriage, or until you finish it off with friendships, or even with your family or whatever it might be. What it's about is having this ability to be so attentive of what's actually going on with you that you find ways to release that tension. You have to find ways to get rid of that tension. And most often than not, probably 9 times out of 10, when you're feeling resistance, all that's happening is you're undertaking some sort of action, or you're undertaking some sort of experience that you haven't done before. But what it's asking you to do is it's asking you to fucking grow up, or it's asking you to progress or move, or it's this experience, this conversation, this conflict is asking you to grow and to build on who you already are. And so, in those situations when you want to run, in those situations when you want to shut down and just close your heart, close your communication, they're actually the situations, they're the moments where you have to sit up nice and tall and actually dive deeper into the resistance, because that's what it is. It's like if you pay attention and you notice and you become aware of what's going on in certain moments in your life where you're being restricted, you're feeling resistance, whatever else, if you're being attentive and you're being aware, in that moment, instead of running away, or instead of going into even amping it up and creating even more conflict and creating even more shit in your life that's really not you, it's actually totally unlike you, you could actually go into the resistance another way. And sometimes that way could just be stillness, to not silence could be your way of going deeper into the resistance, where you don't say anything, you just fucking listen. You learn how to listen to the other person, or you learn how to not do anything. Or if it's got to do with money, you for me, it was just like, no, I'm not going to give this money away from a shitty place. Before this money leaves my hand, I'm going to go away. I actually went to another room. I tuned in. I put myself into a place of pure resistance, not resistance, my bad. I put myself into a place of pure gratitude and pure appreciation. And when I gave that money to the guy, fucking hell, did I feel good. and it felt good, and I was appreciative, not just about the fact that I could give him that money, but also of the fact that I was aware enough to really catch these things about myself. Because this is where we have to be careful, because if what will happen is if these things just keep building up, and then that ceiling for your ability to sit in conflict, or that ceiling for my $300, that will come down to 250, or your resistance radar will come down, and then there'll be less things that you'll be able to deal with, and what we have to understand is that in any situations where you're coming into conflict and you're coming into resistance, it's this thing of growth. All that we are being asked to do is to be in growth. So then, in essence, if you wanted to be a super powerful human being, you could actually change the perspective. You could change the assumption of what's actually going on in that moment. And when you feel any type of resistance, when you feel conflict, when you feel that thing of lack or loss of money or whatever it might be, in those moments, you could go into full gratitude. You could be like, wow, like this must mean I'm growing. Like, that's cool. Like, let's go with this. Let's go deeper in. Let's go into it and see what's actually going on. And you know what it is. There are these moments where you try and grow, and you're asking. You're doing the work, and you're like, you know what, I want to grow in my relationships, in my finances. I want to grow, and in the way that I see the world. I want more peace and all that type of stuff. And all these things are showing up in your world in order for you to learn what it is you have to do in order to move through that. And you're going, no, I don't want that. What do you mean? Like, you asked for it. So this is exactly what's going on for you. This is exactly the situation that you need to be in order to learn to move forward and to grow. So, so if you're asking for, that you want to have more peace in your life, that you want to have this feeling of more time, more peace, feeling more value, being able to spend more time on your own, being able to spend more time for yourself, to go out and do things that fill you up. And then you're like, okay, cool, well, they're the things I want. And then in your life, all this shit turns up where you've got this to do, that to do, and your whole life becomes like this mess of things, and you've got work to do. You've got to, do this and pay for this and do that, and this guy's there and whatever. So there's just heaps of shit going on. And then you're sitting back going, hang on, I didn't ask for this, but you fucking did. Because what you need to do in order to get that peace, to get that clarity, to get that free time, is actually sit back and be able to take care of all these things, because all the things that you want for your peace and whatever, they're all showing up for you to fix. Not fix, my bad, it's not fix, but they're all showing up in order for you to rectify and to find new ways of doing things. And that is the key. We're always growing. We always have to find new ways of doing things. And unless we're attentive, unless we're paying attention to what's actually showing up, then we have to. You've got to pay attention, because if you're not, you're going to start to go down that road of thinking that the world's against you, that why can't you, why does everyone else in the world have it so fucking easy and it's so hard for you? You're going to start going down that route. And, even if you're not talking it on the outside, these words aren't coming out of your mouth, but you're thinking it unconsciously or inside. You have to be very protective. You've got to be super protective of your boundaries. And when those little voices start popping in and you're looking out in the world, you're judging, you're carrying on like a fucking pork chop, you've got to, you have to be attentive. You've got to have this ability to pay attention. And if it's, If it's not available for you to do that, then make it fucking available. So right now, as you are listening to my voice, as you're hearing these words, the first really cool question you can ask yourself is where are you feeling resistance at the moment in your life? Where are you feeling resistance? Where is it showing up? Is it showing up with you financially? Is it showing up with you in your family? Is it showing up in your relationships? Wherever it might be. Is it showing up for you at work? Is it showing up with you with your fucking health? Where are you feeling resistance? And then pay full attention to what's actually coming up, and so out of those things that I just mentioned before, you would probably go, I can tick all those where I'm feeling resistance or whatever, or maybe I can just tick a couple of those. And then your next question would be, is that if I'm feeling any resistance there, what's actually showing up? Like, pay attention. What is actually showing up? And whatever is showing up for you, whatever is there right in front of you, that is what you have to look at and dive into. And then that's the next part, which is most likely what you might assume is the hardest part. And you might have all these fucking stories going on in your mind about it, and whatever. But you know what? You're going to have to be okay with the fact that in order for you to grow, you'll have to do things different. That's not me telling you that. That's just how it is. What's that saying where you've got to, if you keep doing the same things over and over again, whatever that saying is. I was just about to Google it. Wait, I'm going to Google it. If you keep doing the same things, quote, here we go. Here we go. That's the one. Insanity. This is it. All right, here we go. Insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's Albert Einstein. That's the thing. It's a big one. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Comprende? Yeah? You hear me? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. There you go. Thank you, Google. Fucking love Google. How cool is that? So that's what it is, isn't it? So if you want to create a change, if you want to create something different, then you're going to have to do other things. You're going to have to do new things, aren't you, bud? And that sounded a bit degrading. I didn't mean to sound degrading because really, as you guys know, my listeners know, I'm just talking to myself, okay? So you're just listening to me talking to myself. So fuck you, Tom. Anyway, so that's where it is. Okay. So then what's next? Okay, cool. So you go, okay, yeah. So I've got resistance here. I'm going to pay attention, look into it. And then I go, okay, cool. So I'm going to now do newer things. I'm going to do things that are different than what I've done. So I'm not being insane. And then you go, well, what do I do next? And this is where the clencher is, because if you haven't done things before and you're doing new things, you're not going to know what those new things are because they're fucking new, right? So you're going to have to make it up. Like, that's the thing. You're literally going to have to make it up as you go. And you're like, well, what do you mean make it up? What do you mean? I'm not making shit up. I can't make it up because then I'll fuck everything up. No, you won't. The only way to do new things, Albert Einstein, my God, all these epic people, they failed like 9,999 times and they hit it once and then bang, they got it. Then they failed another God knows how many times and then they got it. So it's like, that's what one of the things we know. It's like we have to move into this fear of trying to get it perfect. And you know what the coolest thing is that as you start doing things anew, then what happens is along that journey, you start to learn more things about yourself. You start to learn more things about how you are. You start to learn more things about other people. You start to learn more things about conflict, about money. You start to learn more things about how this fucking cool ass life works. And then once you get there, then there's going to be another thing that's going to fuck with your world. So we just got to accept that this is just what life is. It's this constant growth. And you can either choose that growth to be fucking annoying and carry on and be like, blah, 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 blah. Or you can actually choose life to be a super exciting adventure. And that's what I remind myself every single day, every pair of eyes I look at every fucking day. I try and be more attentive. I try and be there and experience, whether I'm experiencing weirdness and awkwardness or whether I'm experiencing pure love and pure joy. I want to experience that shit. I want to experience it to its full capacity. And I want you to do that too, because it's so fucking cool. And yeah, you know what? I judge other people 100%. I judge myself. I put myself up on these, not pedestal, but I make myself always less than other people, whether it's financial, whether it's, how spiritual I am, or whether it's yoga, meditation, my business, my coaching. I'm always constantly looking out at the world going, everyone's got their shit together and I'm literally a total fuck up. And then I become aware of it and I'm attentive of it because it's not true. Like, my journey is my journey. Your journey is your journey. You're never going to be like me. I'm never going to be like you. So let's just be in this fucking cool life. Let's be in it. Let's enjoy it. Let's move forward and pay attention, because unless you're paying attention, you're fucked. Okay, Tom, did you hear that, Tom? Unless you're paying attention, you're fucked. All right. So Tom, listen to that. When I listen to that, I listen to that. So yeah, let's pay attention to life. Let's pay attention to what's our resistance is going on, and let's just pay attention to how cool life is going to be. Guys, thank you for listening. I love you very much. And yeah, have an epic week. And please put this stuff into practice. Don't just listen to this and go, oh, that was cool, and then go off and do whatever the fuck you're going to do. Like, try this shit out because it works. And I basically do these podcasts when I'm pretty much reporting back on what's coming up for me, or reporting back on my wins. And so I'm never talking about anything that I haven't experienced. And I don't talk about these episodes or these podcasts in a way where I'm telling you what to do. I'm doing it from a place of pure fucking joy and pure love that I get to share my experiences and share my thoughts with you guys. So there you have it. That's what we've got for this week. Next week, we've got a guest on, hopefully. It's a pretty cool guest, and I think we've got a couple more guests coming up over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So get excited, because it's going to be very cool. Have a great week. Love you guys. Fucking love ya. Well done on listening and getting through with me. Love you.